Hey guys, Sherm here, and today we're going to be testing the Enzo Ferrari, or Ferrari Enzo, or however you like to pronounce it, in its Golden Max multiplayer season in Asphalt 9. Now, this car was released this update as a Legend Pass car, the first B-Class Legend Pass car, and the best one that has been released to date. And I wanted to get a multiplayer season in this one. I was wondering why we hadn't gotten it earlier, but now we have it, and so we finally get to test this car for those of us, like me, who don't spend money on the game, or who just did not buy this Legend Pass. And it's pretty good. I've driven it before at max, and it kind of feels like a slower McLaren F1 LM. So a very good B-Class car. It's a lot like driving the F1 LM. It's just not as fast. It goes around 234, 35-ish at max versus the F1 LM's 243. So this isn't a B-Class king. However, it is pretty high up there, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the top 5. Now, this first race is kind of interesting because I did not know it at the time, but apparently one of the people in the race, Casino, I believe, was streaming. So if you're watching this, hello man, good to race you. And I was also told by some members of Legions United that I did a pretty good lap time in this track in this car. So let me know what you guys think about that as well. But it was overall a very good race, close toward the beginning. We got quite a bit ahead toward the end. But coming up in this video are some really close ones and intense ones. As always, those are the kinds that I love to put in these kinds of videos because I found them to be some of the most fun and entertaining when I was playing them. They really got my heart going. So I know you guys would like them as well. And now we're on to one in Shanghai, which is against 6 people. And I really had a close battle against Chloe St. Laurent in this one. And I just knew I had to include it. And before I forget to mention it, if you guys haven't seen it yet, go and check out my new Asphalt 9 music video. It is One Stunts VIP. For those of you who have asked what VIP means, it means variation in production. It's generally when an artist remixes their own song. You may see that in Monster Cat or in other music labels as a term that they use. Anyway, that's what that means. I just thought it sounded cooler than One Stunts V2 or something like that. But as I've said many times previously, it was suggested to me on a stream, and I really liked the idea, so I went and found my old file for One Stunts, the first one, which is like 3 years old at this point, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's really been over 3 years since I posted that, yes, but a lot of you guys remember it, and I thought that this would just be a great homage back to the good old Asphalt 8 days, and just kind of update a song that I felt was one of my weakest ones, just in terms of the production quality. And judging by the positive response to it, I'm very happy with how it turned out, and I can't wait to make my next one. Now, coming toward the end of this race here, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to be able to pass him, but he hits the wall, and I am just able to, at the last second, to take home the victory. Definitely one of the most fun races that I played in the season. Now we are on to a pretty crazy one on Ancient Wonders, and there's been a lot of news that has come to Asphalt 9 since I made my last Asphalt 9 multiplayer video, which has been a little while. I don't know if you've noticed, but that's just because there was the Burst of Speed season, and none of the cars in there were actually at high stars for me. I'd already made videos about all of them, so that gave me a chance, though, to make that Asphalt 8 video, which a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy. If you're curious about some of my thoughts about Asphalt 8 as it is now, sort of all combined into one video, that's definitely a good one to check out. And don't forget to check out my new merch, which I released on Thanksgiving Day, actually, this year, and it should be below this video, I think, if YouTube has caught up to Teespring yet. I've seen it on some. Let me know if you see that. Now, something very interesting happens right up here. I stay in Shockwave purposely throughout this whole way so as to avoid getting knocked down or landed on, and unfortunately I accidentally ended up knocking him down instead. I guess that's something you also have to keep in mind when you are staying in Shockwave, but yes, as you can see there, staying in Shockwave basically makes you invulnerable to any kind of knockdown. So onto the first bit of news that we have for Asphalt 9, Gameloft has announced that there will be a Koenigsegg Regera Elite Grand Prix. We got one of these a while back with the Trion Nemesis. You basically get a max free try in that car, so you got the Trion Nemesis before, the Regera this time, and you can get a good bit of rewards. They're not the best rewards, but you can get a few hundred tokens in there if you get in a high enough spot, so definitely worth playing, and also definitely worth playing the Burst of Speed daily events if you haven't yet and you have some of those cars. You can get hundreds of tokens in there. Like, I think I picked up about 1,000 tokens today just playing those, bringing my token count up to around 14,000 and my credit count up to around 20 million. That's the highest my credits have ever been, and both of those are only due to not spending like hardly anything in this update. I've not spent any tokens on any of the new Ferraris because frankly none of them is really worth all that much to get, but primarily so that I would be as prepared as possible for the upcoming Drive Syndicate, which in our other bit of news, Gameloft has announced earlier today both on their Instagram and their Asphalt, like less than 24 hours ago, about the new new Drive Syndicate, and it's been about a year since we got the last one, which was the Rimac one, and I'm definitely hoping that it's going to be more like that one than the Esco one, because you guys know the Rimac took about 5,000 tokens to unlock, and you got 4 other cars at 3 stars, whereas the Esco, to get like just the Esco at 3 stars, and maybe 1 or 2 other ones at 1 or 2 stars, you had to spend 21,000 tokens on average. You remember my video all about that, but I'm definitely hoping it's going to be closer to the Rimac one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere in the middle of there, but I'm sort of hedging my bets and kind of expecting it to be toward the higher end. So I'm hoping to have about 15,000 that I could spend on it by the time. Unfortunately, that has meant that I've missed out on a few cars in this update that I would probably have been able to get otherwise, like some of the Grand Prix ones I would have had an easier time with if I'd been able to star them up to 2 or 3 stars. But I just think that since they're not really kings of their classes, I'm sort of taking a risk here and hoping that number 1, the Drive Syndicate is easy enough that I can do it with 15,000 tokens, and number 2, that the car is worthwhile enough for me to spend that many tokens on in the first place. I remember a while back when the King of the Fall or whatever was the Batista or something like that, which is a fine car, but not the king like so many people thought it was going to end up being. But Drive Syndicate cars have had a history, at least in their very little history, with the Rimac and the Esco of being kings. I mean, the Rimac was the king on a few tracks, I believe, at the time it came out. It wasn't the fastest, but it's still a super good car. Is still today. It's just been overshadowed by the Esco and the Tuatara, and people weren't able to start up all that much anyway. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did get it at 3 stars like I did, if they were able to get it in their event, which isn't going to be as good as a 3-star Yesco or 3-star Tuatara. And also, a lot of people have maxed their Bugatti Chirons now. Mine's only at 4-star, but I do think my 4-star Bugatti Chiron is still better than my 3-star Rimac. So I've got 3 high-end S-Class cars better than the 3-star Rimac, and a lot of people who got that car probably also do, so that's probably why you don't really see it a lot nowadays. Also simply because it's just not as fast as those, and I know that some people recently have gotten really good at the high top speed cars, especially with the introduction of the floaty drift being very good for them. It allows them to maintain better speed around corners, especially if they don't have the best drifting or handling or acceleration or other stats like those, which those high-end top speed cars usually don't have, so it's very good for them. A lot of people have asked me why I don't do them more. I think I've touched on this a little bit before, but so far I just haven't gotten comfortable enough with them to use them a lot in multiplayer. I've gotten better at them. I tested them on my stream. I was able to do okay. The hardest thing for me is making sure that the car always goes the proper way when you flat spin. Now I know the car flat spins in the direction that you're turning at the time, but sometimes I've tried that and it has seemed to be a little bit inconsistent. Like I try to go a little bit to the right, for example, so I get a flat spin that way before a turn that's going to the left, and it just doesn't seem to work some of the time. I'm trying to get better at it, trying to get it to be consistent, because I know it can be really useful. Some people have also mentioned perhaps making a new updated How to Go Fast in Asphalt 9 video, because the other one, while it is very popular, the most viewed video on my channel by like double anything else, it is still getting a little bit old. Now, the thing is, I do not think it's worth it making an entirely new one. This is because everything in that video still holds valid today, and not a whole lot of things have been discovered since then. So if I were to make a completely new one, it would just be an even longer video rehashing all the stuff I talked about before with a little bit of new stuff added onto it. I don't really want to do that. I don't think it'd be particularly useful. So what I probably will do is make sort of an addition to it. Like, I know we have the floaty drifts, but even then, there hasn't been a whole lot other than that that's been a big discovery since that, and I accidentally flat spin there. That happens occasionally. I was trying to do the brake nitro trick, and I did it just a little bit too fast. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's happened to. But yeah, I also know there's been a little bit of stuff about drift punching in some faster cars. You can kind of do what we used to be able to do in Asphalt 8, where you'd use nitro very quickly around the turn, then go back to drifting. If you're in a car that's fast and drifts well, I think it works well, but I haven't really seen it used a whole lot, and I just need to get some more information about it before I devote to making a whole video on it. So for my general review about this car, it is a high-end B-class car, drives pretty much like the F1LM, but with a slower speed by around 8 miles per hour, and this final victory of the video brings us to the 5th spot on the multiplayer leaderboard. I try to make it my goal to get higher and higher spots each season, so guys, thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!